In this video, we're going to be talking about short payments and credit notes. What is a short payment and what is a credit note? Let's dive in. A short payment, sometimes known as a short payment correction, refers to an adjustment made to an invoice to account for an underpaid invoice. So for example, let's say you send someone an invoice for $1,005. For some reason, they only pay $1,000, leaving a balance of $5. This will leave the invoice with a status that indicates that this invoice is not fully paid. Sometimes that outstanding amount, in this case $5, is just not worth the trouble of trying to get that client to pay. So we can apply what we call a short payment correction to that invoice in the amount of $5, and that invoice will now be marked as paid. But in your reporting, it will show as only $1,000 cash coming into the business, not $1,005. Here is how we can apply a short payment correction. First thing you want to do is navigate to an invoice and apply any payments as you normally would. Once all the payments have been applied, if you have an outstanding balance that you're not worried about collecting, you can issue a short payment. So in this case, we have a balance of $4.90. In order to issue a short payment, we're going to click on the new payment here. We're going to enter the amount of $4.90. Use today's date. And then when we get to category, we're going to select short payment. Okay, you can enter a note in here if you want to. I'm going to leave it blank. We're going to go ahead and click on save. And you'll now see that we have a short payment of $4.90 applied to this invoice, and this invoice is now fully marked paid. You've now successfully added a short payment correction to an underpaid invoice. All right, now let's talk about credit notes. What is a credit note? A credit note refers to credit given to a customer for various reasons. One reason could be a referral credit, where maybe your customer referred your company to another customer, and you thank them by giving them a store credit or a credit note. Another option could be a refund in the form of store credit. So maybe your client pays you in full, and when you went to complete the job, there was a small part of the job that you could not complete for one reason or another. And instead of issuing a refund, your client agreed to accept store credit in the form of a credit note. Or maybe simply put, a customer just overpaid on an invoice, and instead of refunding them, you just decided to issue a credit note. Whatever the case may be, creating and applying a credit note in Tinsel is super easy to do. Let's look at creating credit notes. You can create credit notes three ways. Two of those ways will be manual, and one way will be sort of automatic. So the first way I'll show you is a manual way, and that is from the client's page. So we're going to navigate to the client's page, and then find this section that says credit notes. We can go ahead and click the new button, enter the amount, let's just say $25, enter the reason. In this case, we'll say it's a referral credit, and we can even list here the person that they referred. And then we can select whether or not cash exchange should be selected. So simply put, select this option if money was actually exchanged for this credit note. For example, a refund in the form of a credit. Keep this option unchecked if money was not exchanged. So for example, a referral credit or a discount. Okay, so in this case, because it's a referral credit, I'm going to not select cash exchanged. And let's go ahead and click save. You'll notice that you now have a credit note listed here. The next way to create a credit note is from the actual invoice page. Okay, and this is also a manual addition. So we're going to navigate to the invoice page. We're going to find the section labeled credit notes. We're going to click on the new button, enter the amount, $25. And again, let's just say it's a referral, and the note here could be who we referred or who this client referred. Again, you want to choose cash exchanged or not, and because this is a referral, I'm not going to select cash exchanged. And then we go ahead and click on save. You'll notice that you now have a credit note listed here. Okay, now there's a couple different numbers on here. The right number here is the total amount of the credit note, and the left number is what's remaining on this credit note. So we could apply a partial credit note. We'll get to that in just a few seconds. The third way to actually create a credit note is from an overpaid invoice. So again, we're going to navigate to this invoice page. We're going to find the section labeled payments. We're going to click the new button. We're going to enter the payment amount. Now, let's pause here to take a look that the invoice total is $234.90. So what happens if the client gives me a check for $300? Well, if we enter $300 here, you'll notice that this question pops up. Would you like to create a credit note for $65.10? I'm going to select yes. And we're going to go through this as we normally would, the rest of it. And I'm going to go ahead and click on save. And you'll notice I now have an additional credit note here for the amount that was overpaid in this payment. Okay, and all the details are here. Credit note created for overpayment on invoice number 80, which is what is listed here. Okay, so you are now able to apply either of these credit notes to any invoice for this particular client. Let's take a look at applying credit notes. Applying credit notes is as simple as creating them. So again, we're going to navigate to the invoice that has an outstanding balance. We're going to find the section labeled credit notes. Click on the credit note that you wish to apply. Enter the amount from that credit note that you want to apply. So we can do a full amount of $25 or we can do a partial amount. So I will do $15 for this. And we can click apply. And you'll notice now that we have $15 in payments via credit notes. You'll see over here that we have paid $15 on this invoice. And you'll see in the middle here that there is $10 remaining of this $25 credit note. Okay, so super easy, super simple to use. The last thing to be aware of is that when you are applying credit notes and short payments, in the payments report section, short payment corrections and credit notes where cash exchanged has not been selected will display as credit payments. This is to differentiate whether or not money was actually received for these payments. Credit notes where cash exchanged has been selected will be part of the actual payments total. So the red section up here are short payment corrections and credit notes where cash exchanged has not been selected, and anything else will fall under the green section. You now know everything you need to know about short payments and credit notes. But if you still need more support, feel free to reach out to us via the help desk. We are here and we are happy to help you anytime. See you in the next video.